Call of Duty have just posted a 2-minute video talking about the new version of Verdansk that we're going to be playing on April 3rd. And in it, it's actually confirmed a few things that make me really excited for this remake. I'm not gonna lie, when they first said that they were remaking Verdansk, I honestly thought, who cares? It wasn't something that I thought would solve the problems of Warzone, and I still do kind of think it's not going to solve the problems of Warzone. But as we're getting closer to release, I am getting more and more excited about going back to the map that we loved so much in 2020. So what little details can we glean from this little trailer? Now the first one, and this is something that I'm super excited about and nearly everyone I've spoken to who plays Warzone is excited about too, is that I can't see a single bloody redeploy drone. Now this isn't confirmation that they're not in. Maybe when they were gathering this footage they were just doing it with the sort of game mode turned off, but you can see zip lines on some parts of the map. There's just no redeploy drones anywhere. Maybe the portable ones will still be in the game, I hope not. I think a big part of what made Verdansk special was that whole problem of having to move between different points of interest, you know, getting away from prison, moving away from hospital, the stadium area, the bottom of dam. There's loads of big open spaces, and actually in this little video they are talking a lot about how they've added cover to a lot of those areas. But moving away from areas always felt dangerous. Rotations were scary because suddenly you were going to be out in the open, and people who were in power positions, so maybe at the top of the dam, in the ATC tower, on top of stadium, on top of some of the taller buildings in the city centre, they could take you out really easily. So that would lead to you using vehicles to try and move around because they offered a bit of protection and sped things up. If they put redeploy balloons in this version of the game, you don't need any of that. You don't have any of that tension with a rotation. You don't need to use vehicles at all. You could just fly around from point to point, getting to where you need to go without any friction. And I think that's a real problem for the game. Right now in Urzikstan, I've been playing like Urzikstan for about 5 hours today. Tomorrow there'll be a video about how many hackers we ran into, because it was a lot. So make sure you subscribe to check out tomorrow's video. It's going to be quite a funny one. But anyway, while playing Urzikstan today, I really thought about this, that we were moving around the map so fast, just constantly repositioning whenever we wanted to, and we never needed to touch vehicles. In fact, I didn't want to touch vehicles because the person who I was playing with was an absolute liability in them. And I think that's taken out some of the most fun moments of playing Verdansk, or any of these kind of open battle royale games, extraction games. Moving around in vehicles is a lot of fun. I've talked before about how I really like boring moments in games. So in Armour Forger, when you're all loaded into a jeep or in a truck or a helicopter and you're flying over to somewhere and you've just got a moment just to chat to the people that you're with, to the strangers you're with or with your friends. And it was the same thing in Grey Zone Warfare as well. These little bits of downtime where you're just moving between locations can actually be really, really cool. They sort of give you a bit of contrast from the kind of high octane excitement, and they can lead to exciting and unexpected things happening that doesn't really happen when you're just using a redeploy balloon and you're getting everywhere in like 10 seconds. So it's not guaranteed at all, but in all of these little bits of video that they're showing off, they haven't shown off any redeploy balloons at all. They don't mention being able to use redeploy balloons at any point during this little video. And they do talk a lot about traversing the area and, you know, needing to use cover and stuff like that. So I'm really hopeful here that they have completely got rid of them. One little note on the extra cover that they've added, that might make driving a little bit trickier. Like in Verdansk, it was really easy to drive a truck around because there wasn't that much that you could crash into. It does look like they've added lots of like little bits and pieces that might trip you up. So maybe that'll be a good thing. I guess we'll see. Now, the second thing that we can glean from this video that I think is really interesting is that they haven't added that many zip lines. In the recent maps, particularly on Urzikstan, they've put zip lines absolutely bloody everywhere. There's horizontal zip lines going across loads of the rivers and between buildings and things like that. And every tallish building seems to have 2 or 3 zip lines and ladders going up to the top of them. Here we can see buildings like Prison there or the Air Traffic Control Tower, and it looks like maybe they've got the original zip lines that they put in when they introduced zip lines in, like, what was that, season 4 of Warzone? But it doesn't look like they've added any more than that. I can't see any horizontal zip lines at all. Places like the ATC tower looks like maybe they'll have one zip line on the top. I'm not really sure. It definitely looks like they've just decided to kind of move away from this idea of putting zip lines everywhere. And that changes the game because it reinforces power positions. Now, in some ways, we're kind of going backwards on something that I think a lot of people in the community wanted. Back in the early days of Verdansk, in the early days of Warzone, lots of people would complain that areas like prison, or specifically the ATC tower at airport, were very, very hard to attack because there was only one way up to them. Like on the ATC tower, you had to go up the kind of lift shaft up the middle. That was the only way to get to the top, which meant it was super easy to defend for people. And the only realistic way to stop people who were up there was either flying down from a helicopter or using something like a precision airstrike. Then the zip lines changed that a little bit. You could get a zip line up to the top, which gave you like another option. Lots of buildings had zip lines on them. It made it a little bit harder to hold those positions. Now, I think it seems like maybe they're going back to having those positions as, yeah, if you can get up here, then you can probably hold it. You can make it a bit more interesting. And again, I think that's a good thing. It might not be brilliant for like competitive integrity. It might be a very difficult thing to deal with, but I think it leads to more interesting stories. Like trying to fight a team that are entrenched at the top of the ATC, that's an exciting thing to do. Being the team that's at the top of ATC and trying to hold people off as they attack you, surviving precision airstrikes and trying to hold the lift shaft and stuff like that. I think that's a more interesting story rather than every building essentially being the same and having like a million different ways that you can get up to it. Now, the third thing that this video shows us, there's actually a lot of stuff hidden in this, but the third thing that this video is showing us that I'm very excited about, and actually I hadn't thought about too much before I saw this, is that the metro stations are back. You can see a few of them in the background. There's one near Stadium. There's one over near Airport. These metro stations were added pretty late into Verdansk's life cycle. And then as they added more stuff to Verdansk, they kept taking the metro stations away again for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why. Some sort of memory problem or some limit that they came up against. But the metro stations provided you with a way to move around the map very, very quickly with a whole new set of challenges. So what I was saying earlier about the redeploy balloons making it too easy to move around the map, the metro station meant that you could go there and not have to face, not be worried about people sniping at you from above or anything like that. But you did have to worry about people camping the metro stations and waiting for the trains to turn up. Now, again, they haven't done any kind of confirmation that the metro is actually going to be working. Maybe the metro stations are there as a placeholder for a future update. Maybe they're just going to be a place where you can go and loot in the station, but the trains won't be running. I've got absolutely no idea, but it's pretty cool that they're there, and I think it was a fun feature of Verdansk, and they were a bit more involved than like the ones we had in Caldera, where you just went through a door and then suddenly appeared somewhere else. Actually having to get on a train and having to like fight your way on or off the train throughout the stations, I think was really, really fun before, so I'm looking forward to being able to do that again. It's also an interesting sign of kind of which version of Verdansk we're getting, because lots of people have been wondering this. Is it going to be Verdansk from the very beginning of Verdansk? Is it going to be Verdansk from the very end of Verdansk? The map changed quite a lot as we went, and it definitely looks like we're getting a mix of that. Like Stadium doesn't look to be open, but the metro stations are there. There are zip lines letting you go up to the top of the stadium and stuff like that. So it definitely seems like rather than trying to take one particular time period of Verdansk, they're looking at it and thinking, okay, which are the parts that will work best with things like the movement that we have now, the weapons we have now, maybe the vehicles we have now. I'm not really sure what they're going to do about the vehicles yet, whether we'll get the new vehicles or the old ones. I haven't really spotted vehicles in these videos. If someone else has, please do let me know. And now for the final thing that we've noticed in this, and this is something that I'm really excited about. In my last couple of videos where I've talked about Verdansk, I talked about how in the first one, I'm really hopeful that Beanox will be working on this because they made one of my favourite Easter eggs. They did the Rebirth one, the original Rebirth one, which I absolutely loved with the briefcases and stuff. And then in another video, I thought, actually, they tagged High Moon Studios in something, so maybe High Moon are working on it, which would be amazing because they make so many Easter eggs in their maps, like they did with Ashika Island and Fortune's Keep, They just love putting Easter eggs absolutely everywhere, whereas Raven don't seem to really like making Easter eggs, and when they do make Easter eggs, they're not particularly exciting, like the stupid drone one. Do check out my video on all of the Easter eggs we've had in Warzone if you want to see them, because there's some crazy ones that I think a lot of people have forgotten about. But in this video, we get confirmation that although this video is made by Beanox, and Beanox seem to be talking about the technology here, it looks like the map is being made as a collaboration between Beanox, High Moon Studios and Raven. Now to me, that's super exciting. I'm really hopeful that that means we will be getting Easter eggs. The fact that the metro stations are in it are a good sign that maybe they could be bringing back the old Easter eggs. You know, we had that code on the side of the plane in the earlier trailer. Now we've got the metro stations. You need the metro stations to be able to do the City Hall Easter egg. So maybe there's a chance that we'll be getting them. Obviously the stadium isn't open, so that means they won't be bringing back all of the Easter eggs straight away. But it kind of makes me think that it's more possible. My expectation is that there'll probably be different versions of some of the old Easter eggs, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Bunker 11 and a new way to get into Bunker 11. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a secret train station and a new way to get to it. Maybe even a way to get into the stadium. Maybe there'll be some sort of new Easter egg to get into a room in the stadium or something like that. That could be really cool. But the fact that Beanox and High Moon Studios are working on it, at this point, I've gone from thinking, oh, we'd be lucky if we saw any kind of Easter egg on Verdansk, to now I'm starting to think we'll definitely see something. Maybe not a launch, we'll see, but as soon as this map goes live on April 3rd, of course, I'll be going in, and that's the main thing I'll be looking for. I'll be going to Bunker 11, I'll be going to look at the train stations, and just trying to work out if we can find some new secrets. I'd love it if it was like Fortune's Keep and High Moon Studios had hidden like 10 Easter eggs on it or something, and different challenges for everyone to find them. Like, that would be absolutely awesome. So this 2-minute video has got me more hyped for Verdansk than anything they've talked about over the last year has. Like, I've gone from thinking, oh, I don't really care about this, it's not really for me, to now being really, really excited about this, and we're only just over a week away. So if you want to see me exploring this, searching for Easter eggs and all stuff like that, as well as videos about all of the little snippets of news that I'm sure they're going to be releasing this week, I imagine we'll get a blog post, we'll probably get some trailers and maybe some more little documentary type things like this. Make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.